Jeremy, what are we going to talk about today?
All right, so we're going to talk about what some of the common mistakes or hurdles that a lot of firms come across when they're jumping into content marketing. That's my role at Newfangled is primarily working with the writing aspect of things, the content creation aspect of things with our clients. So there's some things that I've seen in my work that just come up almost every time with almost every client in the early days. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Great, great. And that last part is intriguing to me because each firm we work with is obviously unique. They have their own specialization that has to be very real and very deep. And so we work with unicorns, right? You kind of have to be a bit of a unicorn to work with Newfangled because we're not really sure what we market about you. And so the fact that we work with agencies from all over North America and really increasingly the English speaking world who each are operating in very different ways and usually don't know each other. It's a diverse group, and the fact that they almost are guaranteed to go through these same initial hurdles is really quite interesting to me.
Yeah, they all have really unique expertise, and that's important to note and underline. They have the expertise. They come in with that. What they don't always come in with is the experience of consistently putting that on the record. And so
Mhm.
that's where we come in, helping them to take that expertise that's trapped up here and get it out onto the page and onto the podcast and onto the video and whatever content type they're working on, make sure that it's coming through in a way that's going to help them create results for their business development efforts.
Right, and that's the foundation of all this, right? The foundational newfangled perspective is that if you communicate your expertise properly, that is going to allow you to build relationships with the right prospects at scale. That's the name of the game, right?
That's the deal.
And so, yeah, and your job is critical in that regard because you're the one, like you said, that allows firms to get everything that's trapped up there and for them to even to understand what is up there, right? This curse of knowledge thing is so real where they know far more than they realize they know, and it's a real puzzle to get that out of their heads. And you've developed this into an art. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the three hurdles and then the patented Jeremy Wingle solution to the three hurdles.
All right. So let's see, where do we want to start? The first thing that I typically see is that firms have a tendency to just start off talking about themselves. So they start talking about what they do, they start sharing personal stories from in the trenches, and it's very focused on them and their firm and what they do. And this can be a bit of a trap. Many firms they've got cultures that really drive them forward, and they tend to talk about their culture. They tend to talk about the work, but from the vantage point of them and what they do and how they're experiencing it. And so what the problem there is the folks that are out there that they're trying to connect with, they are self-centered, and they want to learn more about their situation and how to deal with their day to day. So that's what they're looking for. And so jumping into talking about yourself right off the bat, it's just turning people off. It's coming off as a sales pitch. It's
Mhm.
just not going to attract prospects who are unknown to you.
Mhm.
So if you were a celebrity, you could do this and get away with it. You can talk about yourself. We all want to hear about the folks who already have that established following, but the folks we work with are typically trying to build their following.
Right. So in some ways, and not to be disparaging to either group, but in some ways we're dealing with two groups of self-centered individuals, right? The prospects of our client, they're self-centered because they all they care about is their problem, right? And
Hmm.
our clients, these firms, their natural instinct is to be self-centered. And I'm guessing that's because it's comfortable. Like that's a safe place. They can talk about what they know and they know themselves, and like that's easy territory for them to operate within.
Yeah, and I think later in the conversation, that's all good stuff to share with your prospects. When you've
Hmm.
had a nurtured relationship and an educated prospect who is absolutely the right fit, then you can start to bring in those aspects. So there's a time and a place for it.
Hmm.
What I'm advocating for is trying to pump the brakes a little bit, trying to deal with
Hmm.
the prospect and the reader's situation first.
Right, 100%. And that's something we talk about a lot throughout all the stations in the company, the different stages of the buying cycle, the research stage, the evaluator stage, and the purchase stage. And you help your clients to create content that's appropriate for each of the stages. And different techniques that we employ are more effective at different stages between content and email and paid media and different website techniques, things like that. So there's, like you said, there's a time and place for everything. But yeah, we've got to do a great job of capturing those researchers, and we can't do that if we're talking about ourselves.
Exactly, exactly. And that really transitions really well into the next point is just not speaking to a pain point at all. And jumping to a solution without really demonstrating that you understand the situation your readers are in. So a lot of firms have the tendency to speak around an issue, kind of beat around the bush, talk about the industry, talk about the work in general, but that specificity that really connects to the specific pain points and the specific challenges that your prospects have, that's what's really going to create a connection. So that's a common hurdle that we have to get our clients over is really identifying what's the real problem here that from their perspective they're running
Mm-hmm.
into day to day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, instead of going right to the solve, going right to like, okay,
Yeah,
here's what we do, but why do you do it? That whole idea of why, right?
we need the
That
root
makes that
cause.
makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. The root cause, the root cause. Okay, okay. And what's the third hurdle?
Just not having a clear and a well articulated point of view. So, one of the first things that a lot of firms lean towards when they're unsure of what to write is they start doing a bunch of research. And so they look and they search online for what other sorts of articles are out there. And they go into heavy research mode and see what else is out there, see what their competition is writing, see what other
Mm-hmm.
like minded folks are saying. And the issue with going so deep into that research mode is that they end up just regurgitating somebody else's point of view. And
Mm-hmm.
so they end up becoming someone who promotes other thought leaders instead of becoming a thought leader themselves. And that's no good because the reader needs to know what you think. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this expertise. You do this day to
Mm-hmm.
day. You've got this unique way that you approach the work. It's battle tested and won, and this is your chance to get it on the record. So you have to clearly communicate that. And so this is where authenticity comes in, clearly being yourself, not putting on some sort of sales voice or business
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
development mask. You need to just be you and communicate your unique point of view. And
Mm-hmm.
it's sometimes hard to find in the beginning, but it's really important that you look for it and that you get it out there clearly.
Yeah, and it sounds so simple. Like just be you. Just say what you think. But it's just so hard. That's so hard to do for so many reasons, right? One is again this course of knowledge, not knowing what you know, not thinking you might know that much, not thinking you have a right to go on the record and give your opinion because what do we know, right? Are we really the authorities on this? Do we deserve to be talking about this in this way? That's something I hear quite often from clients. They don't have a confidence in what they know because they don't realize what they know. And the other is the similar thing, like imposter syndrome, right? Do I deserve to
Yeah.
be here? All the rest. That's something that affects everybody. And that's what I see. And one of the things I love so much about the work we do and the clients we serve is that with us, they're really vulnerable. They don't once they start working with us, and even in my first conversations with them far before that, they they're looking for help and they're willing to tell it like it is, and they are willing to present a very different face to us than they are to their clients because the clients they have to have a certain posture of confidence and strength. But with us, they're like, I don't really know if we know this stuff. And the thing is, they do. If it's my job, again, we'll talk about this in subsequent episodes together. It's my job at the sales stage to see like does this agency have the goods? Because if they don't, there's nothing we can do to drive results for them, and we can't take them on. We can't work with them if that's not the case. So if they got through the door, me being the bouncer, if they got through the door, then we've got to fair level of confidence, a pretty high level of confidence that they do actually have expertise. But even with real, clear, compelling expertise that is pointed at a very real and targetable market, it's just so hard for them to almost believe in themselves.
Yeah. And often what
So,
I find in the process of getting into a piece of content and editing it is it's a matter of just trimming it down and getting rid of the fat. The expertise is there. It's just it's clouded with all of these other things, whether that's personal stories layered over top of it, or just extra
mm-hmm.
jargon or marketing speak, things of that nature. It's about getting rid of all of that and getting down to the base clear point of view that you want to get across. So it's
Mm-hmm.
often about subtraction more than it is about
Right.
adding more.
Right. Chiseling away until we get to the actual heart of it. And again, I think writers are tend to adorn uh, because they aren't confident in the core substance, and they're not really
Yeah.
even in touch enough with the core substance. So that's all intriguing stuff. Okay, so those are the three issues. What are the three solutions that the patented Wingle solution set?
So I've got a mnemonic device for you, or a memory device to help you remember this. So it's the three E's, and they come in a specific order. So the three E's are empathy, education, and expertise. And the way I think about this is a basic formula. This is meant to get you started, to get you moving in the right direction with your content marketing efforts. It's one of those things that when you learn the rules and you execute them well, then when you get a little further along, you can start breaking the rules and breaking this form. So just so you know, it's a formula to get you started and point you in the right direction, but it's not meant to create every single piece of content to the exact same structure, the exact same formula every
Mm-hmm.
single time. This is where we start in order to get our sea legs and to get confident with sharing the expertise, so that
Mm-hmm.
we can branch out and do all sorts of things stylistically later. So,
Okay. Okay, great.
make sense?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer
So,
in systems.
exactly. Me too. I love a system. I love a spreadsheet. That's all good stuff to get you started.
Yeah.
So the first E is empathy. So empathy, this is a big buzzword these days. Everyone's talking about it. It's a buzzword for a reason. It's really, really important in this context to have empathy. So just like we talked about with one of the common hurdles being, skipping over what your prospects care about. This is where that comes into play. So beginning the article with empathy, demonstrating that you understand what your prospects care about, what's going on in their world, what's happening day to day. This is something that, as I said, readers are selfish. They want to know how to fix their problems right now. So play into that, use that to your advantage, and demonstrate that you understand their situation.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
Yep. That's a great tool to unlock the right sort of thought process.
Yeah, exactly. And it shows them that you're going to write about a topic that's important to them. It shows that
Right.
you understand them, but that this topic is also relevant. So right from the beginning, when they click on your article or get an email about your article or find your article through organic search, they know this is an article that's written specifically to my situation. It's worth me spending time on. So this is the
Right.
hook. This is what brings them in the door. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
And,
then we
and
get to the,
okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, just one more note on the empathy side. The hook, it's worth them spending time on. This is something we talk about all the time, which is once someone shows up to your site, so many things have to happen in order for someone to even show up, right? In terms of
Yeah.
SEO and email and paid media, like a lot of work goes into that just to have an individual show up in the first place. And then once they do, you've got 10 seconds. You have 10 seconds to let them know, okay, this is worth hanging out on, right? Like this is worth your time to don't click that back button. You got 10 seconds before that back button gets clicked. And that's why just very, very, very clear positioning, first of all, is so important. And great positioning has a lot to do with empathy as well. So right under the logo, we need to see that 3 to 10 word tagline. We do this for this, right? We do this thing for these people. And the more specific that is, if the right person shows up, that they've got an issue, they go to Google for the issue, which we all do. People at all levels of organizations, large and small, do that, right? Everyone uses Google. And then they see something that looks like it might be the answer to the problem, and they click through. And then when they click through, they see right there, right above the fold in the top left-hand corner, oh, that they're actually talking to my industry. That's interesting. So this is actually really relevant to me. So we've already had a few positive identifiers. First of all, things showed up in Google, so that's a positive referral basically. Then they get to the site, it's topically related. Then they get to the site and that's actually speaking to my cohort. And so then they're much more likely to go through and check out that article and hopefully have a deeper session where they check out many articles and other services, et cetera. So yeah, but without the empathy hook, there's not going to happen. Game over.
And that gives us the broad, am I in the right place recognition instantly. So am I in the right shop? Am I looking for the right thing? And then this is where we get into now, not only are we in the right store, but we're on the right aisle and we found the right product line. And that's exactly what they're writing about. So this is where we get super specific to that pain point, that challenge, demonstrating that we know what you're looking for. Here's your situation. Here's what you're going through. Here's the pain you have. Maybe here's a couple of things you've tried that didn't work. Okay. And then the education point is where we start to educate them from their point of view to our point of view. So we're transitioning now. We're bringing them along on the journey and we're sharing our perspective on their situation. So it's all from a place of educating them, trying to open their mind to think about things a little bit differently. So this is where you have to say something important, meaningful. It could even be controversial to them, but you need to give them a new perspective.
Yeah, and challenging their current way of thinking is encouraged, right? As long as it's done from a true foundation, right? It's like saying controversial things just for the sake of controversy is bogus. But if you have a well-founded opinion that is counter to the industry opinion, that's gold. Those are the best nuggets in the content marketing arsenal, right?
Yeah, for sure. And they lead to all sorts of great ways to bring people in the door as well, because they can come into play for the subject line of an email or the headline of a paid media campaign or whatever it may be. Those sorts of stakes in the ground, here's how we think about things differently, are really important to get to. So that's the education side of things. Taking the things that you learn in your day-to-day work, the patterns that you're seeing, and articulating them as a unique perspective.
Okay. So we got the empathy, we got the education, and then what's the third?
Third E is expertise. So this is where you start to transition just from your overall perspective into how we're going to get to a better future. So this is sort of the method to get there. So this is where you provide that new path forward. We talked earlier about the times in the buying journey that we need to reach prospects. So researchers, evaluators, earlier stage, later stage prospects. And so it may just be that you're providing some best practices, some understanding of their basic challenges. That may be all you accomplish in that one single article. Or it could be an actual codified methodology based on your experiences, based on the work that you do, that takes them to that better future. So this is the part where you need to be confident about what you know. So not hedging, not riddling your content with qualifying statements. You have to actually say something and be confident in it and own it.
Okay. Yeah. And the whole thing is a journey from them to you, right? The empathy, education, expertise. Like empathy, and this is a sales tool that you're familiar with, right? The first step in sales is to repeat back to the prospect what they said to you, right? They show up. What's the issue? Here are my issues. Okay, here are your issues. You just say it right back to them. And so
Yep.
just to establish context, and that's the empathy, like, okay, I hear you, I know you, I get you. This is about you. Then it's about you, and here's you said this, but here's the fuller picture of your situation, right? Yeah, great. Okay.
Yeah.
And now that you've said this, and here's the more full picture of the actual context you're in, then let's get down to the actual solution to this problem. And that's when it becomes about us, or the firm, the educator.
Yeah. And where do you
That's
want to
good.
go? What do you want the future to look like? And I
Hmm.
think another technique here is to paint a picture of that better future. If you
Yes.
use this expertise that I'm giving you, this is what it can look like a year from now,
Hmm.
2 years from now,
Hmm.
5 years from
Yeah.
now.
Right.
So it's important to also use your content to inspire your readers, to make them believe that
Hmm.
this better future awaits them if they just apply your thinking.
Right. Right. 100%. Just the fact that, yeah, there is this other thing, and yes, we have helped other firms get from point A to point B, and so we understand the issues, we understand the solutions, and we may be able to help you do that. That's great. And the thing is, with content marketing and everything we're talking about, it happens in the minutia, right? Where we're applying all of this to an article that might be 1,000 words about something super specific. And as you and the team talk about all the time, that article really needs to be the best article on the web about that topic. And the only
Yeah.
way it can be that way is hyper specific, and in the context of an organization that's hyper specific in terms of the solutions they provide and the audience they serve. And so, what I really like about these three solutions, empathy, education, expertise, is that they apply to a single article, they apply to the content strategy, they apply to the email, the paid media, the website, they apply to the overall positioning of the whole firm. Like, these three solutions are the solutions to many, 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 many marketing and overall business development problems. So that's pretty great. I love when you can take a system that works at the micro and macro scale.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And at that micro scale of that single article, I think it's important to also mention that we're not necessarily trying to get them all the way from where they are to that 5 year down the road better future in a single article. So
Yeah.
that single article, it just needs to move them forward. It needs to move
Yep.
them forward in their journey. So that might just be, like I said, some basic understanding of their challenges and education that gets them a little bit further down the road. And then they'll come
Mhm.
back to your site and they'll look for more of that. They'll get a little bit further and then a little bit more down the road. And you push them forward to the point where they start to realize that if they just reach out to you and get some help, they can speed this up. They can move
Mhm.
even further than they could on their own if they have a
Mhm.
helpful partner.
Right. 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 Yep. Love that perspective. So, okay, to recap, the three issues being too
Yeah.
self-centered in your content, rushing to a solution instead of first establishing the problem that needs to be solved, the pain points that need to be corrected, and then a lack of real point of view, your own point of view, relying too much on external research and what's already been said rather than really considering and believing in your perspective on the matter. Those are the three issues, right?
Yep.
And the three solutions are empathy, education, expertise.
The three E's.
The threes, I love it. I love it. Well, one of the goals of this new approach to this multimedia marketing campaign we have is to keep things relatively short, around 20 minutes or so. And so we're at that time. Uh, Jeremy, this is such a pleasure. This is fantastic. I'm really glad you volunteered for this. That worked out really well, and I'm very excited about this new approach now that we've actually got one in the can. Uh, I had to really work to hold back to not diverge into other topics. There's an endless amount to talk about here. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to next episodes with you and others. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate everything you do for
Thanks,
Newfangled
Mark.
and what you contributed here.
You bet. Take care.